7th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. May I ask you to please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up tonight is our approval of our agenda. May I get a motion, please? Jim, second. Mike, any discussion or questions? All in favor? 7-0.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sheridan, which Jim?
Sorry, Jim Smith. Oh, sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Okay, good. All right, there's a first. Okay, Jim S. will go by tonight.
Thank
and
you.
Jim L. Done. I had to think about that. Very good. Next up will be our superintendent's report. Mr. Poole.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. It has been a great summer, lots of summer programs and lots of activities. We've had 2 weeks of the Early Start program to aid incoming kindergarten students that were identified during the screening process. Elementary program supporting English language, arts, and mathematics. That's in week 3. Right now, we had 56 students participate in the Summer Music Institute. We had Summer Art Studio for middle and high school students in community programs, Unified Production Summer Theater Program. We did a high school musical, which was fantastic. Other summer showcases in theater, Frog and Toad. We had the Round Out Camp, was a great success this year. And this year we had, it could be a very high, we had 4 students in the Summer Spark program.
Wow.
Hayden Shea, Timmy Nigrell, Spencer Lee, and Connor McVeigh, working at the Brookhaven Laboratory on infrared spectroscopy and developing projects to look for microplastics present in oyster shells, root vegetables, seaweed snacks. All 4 of those students will continue their work with the Spark program across the school year next year with Ms. Schaefer as their mentor. And this week is AP Prep Week, so the high school is busy with lots of students getting ready for advanced placement courses as the school year starts. Many thanks to our staff, administrators, for putting all those programs together and creating some wonderful summer opportunities. So the first day of school is September 4th. Next week, we're really looking forward to it. Our buildings are in great shape. We're well staffed. We have our supplies, equipment, materials, plans in place. I do expect to release the transportation routes tomorrow evening. Mr. Arcto, transportation bus stops should go out tomorrow.
Yes.
Great, wonderful. And just a couple of other congratulations. Congratulations to Ji-Sung Moon, who graduated last year. Over the summer was invited to showcase her work at the Patchwork Theater. She won a scholarship as a result of that work. And a big congratulations to another 2024 graduate, Liam Kirschus, on being named an All-American lacrosse player. In addition to being named All-American, he was voted League 2 Attackman of the Year and won the Most Valuable Player at the annual New Balance All-American Game this summer. A tremendous high school career. Congratulations to him in his upcoming year. And for the 4th consecutive year in a row, our high school athletic teams have been named a School of Distinction, meaning that 100% of our varsity teams received the Scholar Athlete designation by maintaining a 90 GPA or higher. And finally tonight, we have several presentations. Tonight we have Ms. Paulino and her team that's here tonight, Mr. Arcuri presenting on the district-wide food service program. I'll give an update on Briarcliff and personal device smartphone protocols for the upcoming school year, and Mr. Meitz will give a very brief update on the process for finalizing grading protocols for the upcoming school year. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. It's an exciting summer and very much looking forward to the new school year. Any opportunity for board members? Anyone want to add anything? Okay. Moving right along, we will jump into our reports and reviews tonight. First up will be our food service update. Mr. Arcuri, Ms. Paulino, and Ms. Crevencio. Sorry. I have to say that a few times.
Tom, I think we should mention
Oh, right.
the,
Yeah, that's a good point.
this great gift here, the honey.
Go for it.
Okay?
Maybe we could take a picture for a
Yeah,
thank you
so
card.
I do want to interrupt you before you go, Mr. Arcuri. So in front of us tonight, we were given a special treat of honey that was born out of our own honeybees, really. The, what do we call them, the wildcat honeybees? What do we call them?
Well, we're working on branding it. There's no label yet on there, but
There's a no label.
Yep, Mr. No-Hill and several students have been monitoring, taking care of the hive over the summer, and one hive was overly productive, so they had some excess honey. One hive has sort of operating at a just right level. And I'm sad to say the third hive, the queen decided to move on to find a different location. So one of the hives swarmed, and but a new queen is on the way. And so we will restack the hive for the queen that swarmed. And I'm interested in learning more about when and where and how they decide to swarm. If it was good enough for the other two hives, I'm not sure why the third one. Maybe it's a crowd. I don't know.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, our apiary program is off to a great start, and
Yeah.
congratulations, Mr. Nohill, and to everyone who made this happen. Pretty exciting.
Thank you.
Right?
Beautiful color.
Yeah, it sure is. Thanks, Chair. Okay, Mr. Arcuri, food
Yep.
service.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight. I am joined by the Food Service Director, Sarah Polino. She's been with the district for well over 14 years. She had a little hiatus where she jumped ship, grew, and then when our program expanded, she then came back. So we are great to have her. And Christine Krevichenko has been with us about 10 years, right? 9? I was close. I'm starting the 10th. I'm starting the 10th year. She is the school cook manager. She is Sarah's right-hand person. So I'm very, very fortunate, because one of the first things that I had told Sarah when I started, probably my 3rd or 4th day in, I said, I don't want to run a food program. I don't know anything about a food program. I just want to support you to run a food program. And to date, she has developed a fantastic program. She had started the self-op in-house program before I even started. And since then, the program continues to grow exponentially, and the student interest continues to be outstanding. The food is healthy. The food meets or exceeds whatever the USDA guidelines are. And as we always say, in order to provide good food, it does come at a cost. So it always finishes up with dollars and cents. But it's very, very important to know that our community here never has come to a budget meeting, never has raised any type of a concern, other than to say, what does it cost to keep the great program? So without further ado, there's different parts. Sarah's going to take over here, and any questions along the way. It is a lengthy presentation, so it would be better ask that question, because there is different sections of this presentation tonight.
Thank you, Glenn. Good evening. I'm Sarah Polino, the Food Service Director. So just to give you a background on what we'll be presenting on tonight, the program is going to go over the quality of ingredients and the fact that we use scratch cooking in our program, how the Food Service Department is using Parent Square to communicate with families this year. Our menus, we're going to show you the menus for September for each of the schools, where they can be found on the district's website, and how we're showing them through Parent Square. The ordering process for Miller Avenue, and Arbiter Sports, which is formerly Family ID, and My School Bucks. The current staffing status for each cafeteria as of August 2024. The pricing for the new school year, the access to nutritionals, and communication on how we receive that information, and the 23-24 summary of activity, and the USDA changes to milk requirements in 2025. So our program is a little bit different than most school lunch programs. We do a lot of scratch cooking. Our food quality highly exceeds most school lunch programs. We make many of our items from scratch using fresh ingredients. All of our soups are homemade. I don't know if you've heard some of the students talk about our soups, but we are well known for our chicken noodle soup and a lot of our soups that we have in-house. All of our vegetables are fresh. We don't use any canned vegetables, so when we use our broccoli is fresh. We do it straight from the produce companies. So it takes a little bit more time than using a frozen product or something like that. All of our pizzas that we make are made fresh. We don't use any frozen pizzas, so our doughs come in, we make our own sauce, we put the cheese on it ourselves, and we bake them every day that we use them. All of our wraps and sandwiches are made every single day. We slice all of our meats fresh. All of our cheeses, they're all done in every cafeteria. All of our salads are made fresh every day. We don't use any bagged lettuces. All of our lettuces come in by the head, where we wash them individually, and we make all of that from scratch. Same with all of our vegetables that we use for all of our sandwiches, all of our salads and things like that. All of our ground beef that we use, all of our fresh meats, we make all of those from scratch. So our tacos, our burritos, our nachos, our meat sauces, things like that, it's all fresh. It's not frozen meats that we're getting in, it's things that we're cooking from scratch. Many of our dressings and our dips we make homemade. So our chipotle ranch, our honey mustard, those are all made from scratch. That's not a pre-made dressing that we're getting in, it's things that we're all making in-house. And all of our chicken products are all white meat, so we're not using a processed chicken product that's kind of gray on the inside. It's an all white meat muscle that, you know, that we're using for our chicken. Communication with Parent Square is new for us this year. It's something that has been a fantastic way to communicate with parents for us. The feedback from the parents was great. They wanted reminders about what the lunch options are. It's a great way for us to send out the monthly menus. When they wanted to order from Miller Avenue, it was great, so we were able to send out everything twice a week. Ms. Cassandra Nitti, the Assistant Director of Technology, provided training on Parent Square in April, so that was huge for us when it came to ordering from Miller Avenue. By sending out the Parent Square reminders from Miller Avenue, it increased our ordering by almost 50%. So, you know, we were hearing the parents, and everybody was saying, oh, you know, we can't remember, we have so many things to remember, and by us doing that, it was a huge help for them. It's a wonderful way to communicate with families, and it allows us to send out information very quickly and efficiently. So for example, if we need to change a menu item, instead of me having to go to a secretary or a principal in a building, it's now, you know, a way more efficient way for me to send that out to parents immediately. And we're looking forward to expanding the use of it by sending information pertaining to all school cafeterias this year. Specifically, we were doing it mostly for Miller Avenue because it was something that was at my fingertips at that time, but now we're going to expand that for all of the schools. Do you want to put it on? Okay. So this is just something that, to show you the way the Parent Square was being sent out from Miller Avenue. When we were sending it out, the link to actually order from Miller Avenue was in the actual Parent Square, so when parents wanted to go order, they just had to go to this, click on the link, and it would bring them right to the actual ordering window. I just wanted to show you where the actual lunch menus are on the website. So if you go to the school website and you go to departments and programs, the school lunch section on the left-hand side lists where all of the school menus are. And then if you go to the school page, it's also on the left-hand side. You can see where it's circled. So if you go to the school itself on their website, it's on the left-hand side. So the program at the high school right now, staffing-wise, we currently have 1 full-time cook, a full-time food service worker, 3 part-time food service workers, and we have 1 open vacancy for a part-time food service worker. There's currently 657 students enrolled in the building with 39 free or reduced students. And the operating hours of the cafeteria are 4th period to 8th period, so that's approximately 9:26 to 1:26 p.m. And during the 3-minute changeover in between classes, right now the cafeteria is closed for purchases. It allows us to restock. It allows staff to, bring everything up from the back, replenish all of the food, and it allows the students and staff to arrive to the cafeteria on time.
Is that, quick question.
Sure.
So your operating hours are 4th period through 8th period. Are there lunch periods beyond 6th period?
Beyond 6.
So, yeah.
6th,
so,
7th, and 8th.
So 6th, 7th, oh, they have lunch period
Yep.
7th and 8th
Mhm.
period? Okay.
Yes.
Where are
Here's just a quick look at the September menu for the high school.
Where's lunch period?
So then on the
Yeah, wait.
menu, it is important to point out that for all of our schools, there is a allergy awareness area. We have offerings related to a gluten-free allergy, dairy allergy. We actually try to include that on the menu. So when those concerns rise, we do try to tell you there's always something available on any day for any student's need. The main point is they have to convey to us that the student has an allergy. We need something for that.
So, Ms. Curry, can you just talk a little bit more about that? So when you
Sure.
talk about, there's a lot of, which I appreciate, a lot of gluten-free options available, but there are obviously set days. So if there was a child that had a gluten allergy, are they pre-designated at the beginning of the school year and determining the days, or predetermining the days they potentially are going to buy lunch? Or how does that work when you're thinking about making things from scratch and having availability?
So when we have students with allergies, we actually give them a menu, and they can circle the days that they like if there's a gluten-specific, gluten-free specific option that day. But we have gluten-free options available every day. So if we have a student that says, you know what, I'd really like gluten-free chicken nuggets every single day, as long as we know that day that they'd like that, we will prepare it for them that day.
We're going to see a couple of slides later, that the only way the food service department knows a student has an allergy starts from either a nurse in the building tells us, or the parents tell us. The second that we are told, we actually put it inside of the student's NutriKids account, so it actually flashes for us to actually tell us, and then 99% of the time, the food service team is always taking a proactive approach to know that particular student, figure out what their pattern of ordering is, because we don't want them to feel there isn't something. There's a tremendous amount of pride and effort taken in to find high quality allergy aware items. We always try to have something related to dairy, salads. We always try to have something related to gluten-free, whether it's wraps, bagels, any sandwich that we're offering could come on a gluten-free wrap.
And,
go ahead.
sorry. And the other side of that also is a lot of the time, some of the items that are gluten-free come in frozen. If a student only has 20 minutes to eat and they come in and let's say, just, speaking to the chicken again, it takes us 20 minutes to cook that. So the reason why we want to know ahead of time if it's not something specifically on the menu that's already prepared is because we do need time to cook it. So if we know a heads up, either that day, or if they circle things on the menu, or if it's not something that we can prepare instantly, and we know, even the morning of, if it's not on the menu, it gives us time to make sure that we have it ready and in a safe holding space and things like that for a student that does have the allergy. So as long as we have that communication, we can prepare whatever they'd like that day, whether it's on the menu or not.
Now, from a preparation standpoint, like to prevent cross-contamination, is there designated stations depending on the allergen? Is
Yep.
that how you- okay.
And we also have designated warmers also.
Okay.
So if we have a warmer that has a top and a bottom, and we know we're preparing something gluten-free, it would only be in the bottom or in the top, depending on the school.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So just to touch a little bit on the school store, the school store is called The Den. It's a vocational extension of the classroom. Right now, the items currently sold in the school store are iced coffee, a fruit refresher drink, individually wrapped muffins, cereal and granola bars, dry cereal cups, and it's opened first and second period, so approximately 7 a.m. to 8:45 a.m., and it's opened on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right now, the school does have vending machines. They're available for use for students at the high school from the time they arrive to school until the first bell, which is approximately 7:20 a.m. And then they are open again at the conclusion of the school day, so around 1:26 p.m. There's 2 snack vending machines located in the athletic hallway. They were put there in place as a fundraising opportunity, and they're the responsibility of the high school PTA. The vending machines in the cafeteria contain bottled water, and that's property of Quick Snack Vending, which is the Dover Group, and they are not part of the food service program. The current program at the middle school has 1 full-time cook, 1 full-time food service worker, 3 part-time food service worker, and there are no current vacancies, so we are fully staffed at the middle school. There's 450 students, and 26 of those students are free or reduced. Right now, the cafeteria operating hours are 4th period, 5th period, and 6th period, so approximately 10:21 to 12:24, and 7th eats 4th period, 8th eats 5th period, and 6th eats 6th period. And here's a look at the September menu for the middle school.
So the items that are followed by the dash gluten-free,
Mm-hmm.
do I interpret that as the item preceding that is the gluten-free item, or is it just telling me there's gluten-free available?
That means that entire lunch is available gluten-free.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The Wading River program right now is 1 full-time cook, 1 full-time food service worker, 2 part-time food service worker, and there is no current vacancies at Wading River. There's 435 students, 25 of which are free or reduced. And right now, the operating hours are from 10:55 to 1:35. And as you can see, each grade is staggered half and half to allow for the grade to eat lunch and then go out for recess.
So curious, does the staff float at all? So when you look at vacancy at the high school, for example, obviously their day ends a lot earlier than potentially a Wading River and Miller Avenue. Do they?
The main floaters here.
Okay.
Miss Kravchenko floats. Sarah's anywhere she needs to be, because to ensure that I'm fully staffed each and every day would be a absolute fantasy. That is never the case, but since there's different start times and my part-time workers are limited to a specific number of hours, 19 3/4 hours that they cannot exceed, it's only these two individuals that typically float between schools.
Or roller skate. Here's a look at the Wading River menu. And I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Kravchenko to let you know about the Miller Avenue program.
Good evening. We were very excited to open up the Miller Avenue program again for pre-order lunches. As you know, there isn't a cafeteria there. So we've come up with our plan on how to get the lunches to the little ones that they can order lunch and have lunch. So to start with, the families that receive free or reduced lunches, they'll be receiving lunches right on the first day of school. So lunches will be brought to Miller Avenue for those students. The district will provide a meal for each student based on their eligibility from the 2023 to 24 data, and then going forward once the applications are complete. All of the families of the students, regardless of their status, they'll have to order through Arbiter Sports, which used to be Family ID. As Sarah pointed out, a parent square is sent out. We send out 2 reminders, being that it has to be ordered a week in advance, just kind of to remind the parents if they would like to order to do so. And the food service department will contact any of the free or reduced students, and I can walk them through the ordering process, because we would like them to order for their own children in case there are dietary needs, or just if the children don't like certain foods. Cold lunch will be available for all students starting September 9th through the Arbiter Sports pre-ordering service. And hot lunch will begin once our positions are completely filled. Sure.
So one of our challenges is the Miller Avenue program has a school cook manager, has a full-time food service worker, but also has one part-time food service worker. That part-time food service worker plays an instrumental role in getting the food from the middle school to the Miller Avenue school. When it comes to the cold lunches, we are able to do that in one single delivery, because we can refrigerate it, keep it either in the refrigerator or in the cold camera that will keep it to temperature for us. However, when it comes to the smiley face fries, they don't like to sit for 3 hours. They aren't as crispy, they aren't as the way that they should be. The chicken nuggets. So for each lunch serving, the part-time worker drives our delivery van, drops off the Canberra, the full-time food service worker's there, or Ms. Kravchenko's there, handle the distribution while they go back to get the next load. So whether it's, I'm just going to call her Christine because it's easier. For either is Christine staying back at the middle school and the full-time food service worker staying at the Miller Avenue school, or the full-time food service workers at the middle school and Christine is at the Miller Avenue school, I need a shuttle person to move that hot food. That's a critical position for me. We had a fantastic person. They did not leave to take a better job. They actually moved. So we do have some applicants. There was a very creative Facebook post. Thank you very, very much. It definitely triggered a lot of interest. Mr. Hayward's working on getting them in. So the second we could get that position back, but it's not an easy position. It is a it just requires the right person to drive the van, load the van, even though we give them help loading and unloading. It's just not like the other stations. So I just want to point that it's not that we don't want to do it. I just need a body. So if you guys want to volunteer for me 1 day a week, I'll take anything in order to bring the hot food back.
Currently, as Mr. Arcuri said, we have a full-time cook, which is myself. We have a full-time food service worker, and our part-time food service position is vacant. The current enrollment is 423, and we had 22 free or reduced students. And as he just explained, that part-time position is crucial. The cold lunches are prepared and packaged at Prodell Middle School, so we will prepare them. They're sealed in plastic containers. They're then put in a cold bag, transported to a cold refrigerator at Prodell Middle School. At that point, the lunch monitors at Miller Avenue will come in, and during each lunch session, they will come in, grab the lunches, bring it to the appropriate class and for the student that ordered. Hot lunch is also prepared at Miller Avenue, and it's sent over through the hot Cambros in the food service van. And that was, as he explained, that part-time person is responsible for going back and forth, because they go back and forth 3 times, because there's 3 serving, second, first, and kindergarten. So we like to keep the food hot, the food fresh, especially the smile fries and the Dino nuggets. This is what a hot Cambro looks like. And that is also, we have them hot, and then there's cold units as well. So these are stationed at the middle school to transport. They go onto the van, and then we also have hot Cambros and cold Cambros waiting at Miller Avenue. So there's never time that they're out, sitting out. The Miller Avenue program is through arbitersports.com, and it is a 1 week in advance order. If a student is absent, if they're absent on a cold day or a hot day, the parent can make arrangements with the Miller Avenue office to come and pick up the lunch. We've had that, because if a child's homesick and they look forward to the macaroni cheese, and so we do make sure that that's available. And if they do come in the next day and it's a cold lunch, we send the cold lunch home with the child, or they can eat it the next day during their lunch period. Oops. And that's the September menu. Our menus are unique because we do have the same options, just to keep continuity with the pre-order. And also, if a child tries something 1 week and they want to order the next week, it's the same thing. Or if they see their friend eating something that they would like, and it just helps us as far as ordering with our inventory and keeping things in stock that we need. So this is the front page of Arbiter Sports. When you go on arbitersports.com, I'm sure many people are aware of it, you put in Shoreham-Wading River and our location, and up will pop whether it's a sports program or whatever else it's used for. Then you will see Miller Avenue Lunch. When you click on that, this is the page it brings you to. So this is the page, and it usually will tell you week to week what the program, the deadline for ordering. The program right now is open for cold orders. It opened today. So parents can go and order for delivery for next week, the 9th through the 13th. Once you scroll down on the page, this is your options. Each day is listed, and when you click on the day, your options are listed. So it's a main lunch, whether it's the yogurt plate, a turkey bacon sandwich, a crispy chicken wrap, and then we always have the option every day for a plain bagel with butter, plain bagel with cream cheese, and our gluten-free option is the gluten-free bagel. As you scroll down, as a parent, if you are a free and reduced student, you click the yes, you fill out your child's information, and on the bottom you will submit it, and the order is submitted. If you click no after you are finished, you will type agree, type in your name. Once you hit submit, then you go to My School Box, which is part 2. So My School Box, as many of you are familiar with, that is our prepayment system that we use to add money for Wading River, the middle school, and the high school student accounts. With Miller Avenue, that's the only option for payment. An account must be created for new students, so you will go on myschoolbucks.com or download the app on a compatible device, and siblings are added to an existing account. So you'll just add each child, but each account is separate, so you're able to monitor what they purchase in the cafeteria, set up notifications as far as low balances or an auto refill once you get to a certain balance. It is offered as a convenience. In all the schools, students can bring in cash to pay, except for Miller Avenue. So they can go into any of the other schools and pay cash rather than use that. They can also bring in a cash or check to the other 3 schools to avoid the fees, because there are fees attached in the My School Bucks. So a student can come in to the cafeteria, go up to one of the food service workers, hand them their payment, and they'll put it right on their account on the spot.
Can I just ask a quick question? Have we explored utilizing credit cards or debit payments now that a lot of kids have it on their phones?
One of the current processes there is not an acceptable payment process within our point of sale system. One of our goals for 24-25 school year is to actually transition away from our point of sale provider called NutriKids and actually explore a different platform that will provide options to accept Apple Pay, debit cards. There's a few more hurdles in order to accomplish that, but it's something that is on the radar in my office. I just don't have it as a food service issue. I have it at clubs, I have it for many different things. It's a bigger challenge working on.
And unfortunately, the food service department, we don't have access to My School Bucks. So if a parent does contact us, if they're having issues creating the account, or there's just something, they would have to call My School Bucks directly, because it's personal information that's on their account that only they have access to. This is what the page looks like. So once you do go in to create the account, the student is there, and you just click Add Student, and you will just add your student and all the information. So if you do add the money through the app, there's a transaction fee of $3.25. There's an additional surcharge of $3.25 that the district absorbs. So the parent is charged per transaction $3.25. Hence the reason, if you would like to avoid that, you send your child in with their cash or check, and one of the food service employees can put the money right on their account, right at the cash register. And due to the pre-order program for Miller Avenue, the only payment option is the credit or debit through My School Bucks. We don't have a point of sale system at Miller Avenue.
I just actually, just to clarify, if I was to
Sure.
send my child in with a $100 check, and bring it to the cafeteria,
Yeah.
they could then upload that
And
to
they
their
upload it
MyBucks
right
with
on the
no.
account, right at the cash register.
I wasn't aware
They'll pull up the student will give their ID, and we can add it right on the spot. That way, you don't have to go through the app, and you don't have to pay the
Do a lot of people do that or no?
We do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. We do.
That's convenient.
So, you're next.
Thank you. One of the components about the Miller Avenue program, last week, myself, superintendent, my 2 colleagues had the opportunity to meet with the leaders of the parent organizations inside of the district. The 2 representatives for the Miller Avenue PTO had really shared the drawback to the pre-order program. It is consistently, the concern is they don't know what they want to order 2 weeks in advance. How is it possible for the district to do something different? So we have begun again to explore the option. What is a middle ground between taking what I currently have as a pre-order system and saying, bring over X number of hot lunches, X number of cold lunches, create a NutriKids account for all of the Miller Avenue students, allow them to have a student ID number so that they could take their card, go up, and actually make their purchase that same day. How can I do that to stay compliant with the Board of Health without putting in a large warming kitchen? And we have begun to research that again. It was something that was on our mind before COVID came. I only implemented hot lunch in April of 2024. So the timing isn't that we have neglected to do it. I only got staff to do hot lunch in April, March. So we are back to looking at that. I not only want to tell you guys, who's ever listening, we are definitely hearing you, and more information to come inside of the future about how we're able to do something that is a little bit more than what we're offering today, because the sustainability of the program rests with hot food. Hot food, I'm selling 100, 120 lunches a day. Cold, I'm selling 30. So to sustain this program, I have the same staff, whether I'm selling 30 or 120, when I'm a pre-order program. If I go to a grab-and-go style program, we have two large moving components. One of them, until we get a real pulse, we might have a couple of extra lunches made. That would be a concern. I don't think it's going to be high, because they will get a pulse quickly. But number two, I probably have to add another food service worker, whether it's a full-time food service worker or a part-time food service worker, because now there's an additional component, and that's taking payment from K2 students. Even though it's a barcode, even though it's a simple process, it still would definitely require a similar structure to the way Wading River is, whether it's 2 part-timers, a cook, manager, and a full-time food service worker. It might be cook, manager, part-time food service worker to do the shuttle, and 2 full-time food service workers. So I have them there at all times, because that satellite component complicates it a little bit further. But I just wanted to, this only came up Thursday. We've been mulling over for the entire weekend, trying to figure out what we can do. I did not have enough to include it in the presentation today, but I wanted to make it clear as part of our district-wide food service program presentation to kick off the 24-25 school year, that it's actively being researched. Building principal extremely cooperative in understanding that, yes, that is a chorus room. Yes, that is a activity room. So we're looking for how can we make it all work within that same space, so that parents get the option of, due to circumstance, they just want to send the kid in with
That's a good question.
purchase.
Just have a quick question about that.
Sure.
Should you arrive at that point, is that population of students, is it appropriate to have a la carte items as well, or is that?
A la carte would be a great phase 3.
Okay.
Phase 1 started spring of 24. I'm moving to phase 2, and I definitely would like to get to an a la carte. It's just, I have to look at timing. Number one, how much time does it really take? Let's say we get an overwhelming interest. As Ms. Smith and I spoke on Friday, if it's now taken eight minutes for the K kids to get through that line, I now altered her entire structure. So definitely a phase 3 would be the a la carte items, because the a la carte items is truly where sustainability of the program comes from. So we're thinking now simply stated, take the same menu that you see here, give a cold lunch option and give a hot lunch option, 2 different sections, meaning 2 different cooling, a cold food serving station, a warm food serving station, age appropriate from a height standpoint. They pick it up, it's in a box, they grab their milk, they grab their juice, grab their fruit. If it doesn't happen to be juice, go to a station. Before they came up to the line, the lunch monitor assigned to that class, assigned to that table, would actually have gone through, say, like an index card box and say, Mr. Poole, is going to get lunch, hand them their card. So when they go up, they scan the barcode. When they come off that line, card goes right back into the index card holder for that particular class. So we have, in a very short period of time, to really work through the fundamentals, because the parents made a lot of sense. And I do think the middle school kitchen is a phenomenal place to do this type of preparation. We built a kitchen to handle a satellite program. I just need a little bit more infrastructure work. That's not the big full project that I presented before, which is a full warming kitchen modification, which I'm 2 years out. Even if you handed me a blank check today, between the SCD approval process, between the construction side of it, I'm at least 2 years out, and the parent was very, very frank. But I'm not going to have a kid in there inside of 2 years. So I'm sensitive to the immediate need, but we would definitely be looking towards a la carte. And as this program begins to take root and substance, I'm certain that it's either going to be sustainable the way that we do it, or you might even ask me to go to the next level and say, we want more than 2 choices. We want 4 choices. And if that's the case, we then would consider a larger scale capital project known as a warming kitchen to receive food from a satellite location. All allergy options, we will still have the same thing. A parent could call and say, I want the gluten-free nuggets, I want this, I want that. We will have it available for them. So price changes for 24-25, as I'm sure everyone has seen inside of their home budgets, everything has gone up. So for our complete meal, we have gone up 5%. That's from $5 to $5.25. And for all the other a la carte menu items, the average increase is about 4%. So you do have some items that have a 12% increase, but that actually equates to 8 cents because it's like a 50-cent item. So there is a vast difference, but overall, we are looking at a 5% increase with a goal of just sustaining what our current operating loss is. It's not to regain traction. It's not to say, let me try to make up operating loss from previous years, because all costs are increasing regularly. Nutritionals, dietary restrictions, allergy, and student data. Go to a professional.
So just to kind of circle back to what we were speaking about a little bit earlier, in order for the cafeteria staff to be made aware if a student has an allergy, a specific dietary need, or a restriction, we request a list from all of the school nurses at the beginning of the school year, and then periodically throughout the school year when we have new students coming in, when things change with the students. So that's where we pull our information from directly. All the information is then put directly into our point of sale system, and the student's account is flagged, and an alert will come up on the screen anytime that specific student enters their ID number. If you have any questions or if you need to know about allergies or nutritionals, you can contact me. You can contact Ms. Kravchenko. And we have binders in each cafeteria with nutritional information. So Christine is going to show you what that looks like. So if any student needs to know any of our information, if a teacher does, if anybody does, we keep that in each cafeteria. Sure.
With that information there is very, very critical to our diabetic students. Nurses refer to it. Parents want to see it. They are making decisions based on data, and it is important to know that even when we're getting a substitution due to supply chain disruption, we are always trying to keep that current. And every now and then, something will show up today. We're going to hold it. So I might not have the famous Amos chocolate chip cookies today because I didn't order those, but they sent something else in, and I can't sell it that particular day because I don't have that piece. Because it is an instrumental component for our diabetic students.
Is that available electronically anywhere?
The binder is not, but I can always send nutritionals. If somebody needs something, they can contact me and I can send it. So it's crucial for the cafeteria staff to be made aware if an allergy or restriction should be updated or removed. Oftentimes, an alert or flag will be placed on a student's account as a current allergy or restriction, and the student will not be aware that they can't have something specific, or they feel that they no longer have that restriction. So for example, if it says lactose intolerance and they choose an item with dairy. This happens a lot when it comes to our secondary students. So if we have a senior in high school come up and they grab pizza and we see a lactose intolerance come up, we're like, maybe you shouldn't really be having that because it's what it says. And I'm like, oh no, it's fine, I can have cheese. So it is really important for us to know whether or not a restriction should be taken off of an account, because sometimes we do have students that grow out of something like that, and to make it not, uncomfortable for them and for us, those types of things, the communication is really key.
And those restrictions they stem from the nurse's
The
office,
nurse,
right?
or even the parent.
Right,
So if a
but-
parent wants to contact us, but yes, we only get it from the nurse unless the parent contacts us
And the
specifically.
parents should be updating that
Yes.
at every enrollment
Yes.
every year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if they don't specifically contact the nurse and that's what they have, then that's what I have. So,
I'm talking about the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Every year, they're
Yep.
supposed to update, so,
yep,
yeah.
absolutely. Yep. The food service department does not have access to student allergy information unless it's provided to the food service department from the parent or guardian or the nurse. So, yes, just to reiterate that. So this is exactly what we see at the register when a student comes up, if there is an alert on their account. They put in their 4-digit ID number, and this is what we will see. So I manually put in all of these allergies. So whatever the nurse hands to me, I'm literally typing this in on my end. So exactly what she gives me is what I put in. So my entire staff will see this pop up. So until they clear that and they hit OK, this is on that screen when the student comes up. So just so everybody sees exactly what we see when a student comes up, this is how it's shown.
When we come to the K2 level, this information becomes even that much more critical for us.
Mhm.
So as we begin the process, I'm not going to start the process without this type of NutriKit system up and functioning, and always making sure that someone is there in order to see that pop.
Boy,
They
Glenn,
never
get
want
ready.
to talk about
Get
money.
ready.
They only want to talk about the exciting items. They never want to talk about money. So, as you can see, as I started the presentation out with earlier, the district operates in the red. There is definitely a deficit. The program gets supported by a supplement from the general fund. It is a budget item. It is presented during the budget process. It's a transfer to school lunch fund. It varies throughout the years. It changes. Since we are a self-funded free and reduced program, meaning we aren't part of the National School Lunch Program, we are only part of the federal milk program, we absorb the cost of feeding our free and reduced students as part of our program. Again, the benefit of doing that, we're able to provide a better quality and choice when it comes to the school meals. So you can see for 23-24, even with the unaudited data, because the external audit is not complete, we're about $207,000 in the red. Of that $207,000, approximately $65,000 to $70,000 is directly linked to the free and reduced program. Looking at it from $130,000 loss, when you take that into consideration, they're actually running 3 mini restaurants inside of Wading, a River, middle school, high school. And it's typical for the population of people working in those restaurants they have to charge a higher price. The same sandwich, the same buffalo chicken wrap that someone loves inside of central office is $12 at the deli at Wading River. It's $5.25 here. It's a bargain. It's the same weight. It's the same size, because we have to meet certain minimums. But I don't get the luxury to charge the $12. So it's an understanding that we want the program to operate at the level that it does. We have to continue to allocate funds in order to do that.
Mr. Curry,
Sure.
I just have a general question, not necessarily on the finances for a moment. Just going back to the menus. And I see often it's Pizza Friday. I'll call it Pizza Friday. So do you, children are creatures of habit. My kids were. They have certain food staples that they enjoy. Are we benefited by having a diverse menu, or should we just give the kids what they want? I don't know if there's a highs or lows. I saw some of the days you have breakfast for lunch. Was that a horrible selling day? Are there things that we could do to improve the profitability of the program just by offering kids what they want to eat? I hate to say it that way, but I'm saying it that way.
I'm going to jump in before
Yeah.
these two ladies do, purely from a item sold. So looking at it from a sales
Yeah.
history standpoint, I can tell you I'm selling 28 salads out of the high school on pizza Fridays. That is my average sale for salads. And they probably make 29. Not 42, not 35. They're extremely tight in their waist. I have someone that is extremely, she will break down a crispy chicken sandwich because she could save the chicken patty to put it on the salad for tomorrow. So we do monitor that. There isn't much benefit in reducing variety because I do think we're going to miss out on sales. There are a group of kids that have gravitated towards the yogurt parfait, the muffins, the salads, the pizza. Jump in.
Mr.
Yeah, you
I'm
understand where
sorry,
I'm coming from,
I have another fiscal question, but.
Okay.
We'll finish that, and then I'll
All
go to
right.
this.
So basically, when it comes down to the menu, specifically the breakfast, those are our most popular selling items. So if you'll see on every menu, there's at
Yep.
least 2 brunch for lunch days out
I
of the
did.
month.
Yep.
Because that is one of the most popular. Pizza is one of our highest selling items. If you look at the menu, you'll see most Mondays we have some sort of a chicken item, especially for the younger kids. That is one of the most popular items too. So I do try to take the most popular items and just sort of transition it into something a little bit different because it is what they're used to. If there is an item on the menu that doesn't seem to be selling, then we don't sell it. So, the nachos, very popular. Any form of taco type situation is extremely popular. So I'll take that and we'll do a beef burrito, we'll do a taco with it, we'll do nachos with it. So I am trying to be as cognizant as I can of what the more popular items are and just kind of giving them more of a variety of that type of item.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Basically, just
Yeah.
thinking about if Glenn put on his restaurant hat that he just did, what does the population want? You give the clients what they want.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking that's a way to increase sales, which would help our deficit somewhat by providing meals that kids are interested in purchasing. That's all I'm
But
thinking
I
about.
think it's a slightly different question. I think out of the items we sell, there are higher profit margin items.
Well, that's true too.
That I'm able to, once I start to reduce variety, and then during a given week, I serve the same item twice. I could increase profitability that way, but I am then reducing variety. So here's that, I could sell pizza five days.
Maybe that's
a
an
week.
opportunity for a survey to students and ask that question, Glenn. I'm just saying,
But I
we're
think-
running in the red. So you're bringing up a point about we're running in the red, how do you cover the program? Do you increase what kids are interested in buying, or do you continue to promote items that are not selling? That's what I'm guessing
We're
getting at.
definitely not promoting items that are not selling.
Okay.
I gotta back that narrative off. I
Okay.
have to put the narrative back on.
Okay,
The buffalo chicken wrap is my smallest profit margin, but it's a very great selling item.
okay.
So there is an expectation, our students have an expectation of, why are you doing the same thing twice? I mean, God forbid the truck is missing something, we have to duplicate General Chow's chicken. It's like, but I just had that yesterday, I want what was expected today. So we could definitely do it, but I probably would do it slightly different, not what the students want. I would probably pare down some of the lunches that I am not making as much margin on, that I could actually deliver high quality at a cheaper cost. Like French toast sticks would be 3 days a week. Because the students love them, I happen to love them. So I could go down there and get lunch for 3 days a week, and it's a great profit margin for those. But is it the right thing to do? I'm there, I'm right next to you trying to figure out how can we do it? But we have definitely all of the duds that we don't sell. If they try something new and they don't sell it, they never see it again. It's out. And they haven't really tried many things new. correct me if I'm wrong.
I'll try something 3 times. After the 3rd time, if it doesn't sell, it's good.
Okay.
That's my rule of thumb. First time if they don't try it, second time, okay, 3rd time.
So I'm scared, is it safe to assume that the expenses are transportation, inventory, salary? Is that all goes into the expense line item?
It is the ingredient cost, like the cost of sales. It is the salaries, and the bigger component to it all is the benefits.
Okay. So when you think about our expenses increasing, let's say, from 22-23 to 23-24, roughly 9%.
Yep.
Food costs have rose exponentially, especially over the last year. We still haven't done the audit. We're going through a new year where we were potentially looking at maybe a 12 or 13% increase over what we were last year. Now you're looking at a significant change in our net profit. What was the rationale behind just a 5% increase? Because even at, let's say, 10%, you're generating another $87,000 to $90,000 in revenue to help offset some of that items, and you're only at $550 for a full meal.
Traditionally, it is related to, I did a projection on 2.5, 5, 7.5, and a 10% increase. Even when I pitched it to the parents on Thursday, the PTA parent leaders, that I was doing a 5% increase, they were gonna have my head. Is it the right thing to do to like have that fear? No. Could we go up by a 10% increase? Yes. The question is, at what point is that tipping point? I could tell you salaries alone are going up by 4%. Benefits by another 10 and 15%. So I know we're going up. The 5% was specifically to try to offset something, to get something back from us.
Yeah, I know it's not easy. I'm just saying, like, we're subsidizing quite a lot as a tax-paying district for this food program, which I think is phenomenal. But at some point, like, there has to be a little bit of give, and I get, the intent. But I think, maybe there's a broader survey that needs to go out about, the rising costs that everybody's experiencing. Nobody wants to continue to pay higher, prices, but it's still at a very good value.
Agreed.
And, at what point do we have to make those decisions?
I'm very open to going more than that 5%. Again, it's that I'm looking for that sense. What I don't want to do is come up with a 10% increase and then find now there's an outrage, and now there's a boycott, and now I'm in the Times News review for charging 5 cents for a ketchup packet. So we try to avoid that. But if we could get back to the habit of a 5% increase annually every school year, as opposed to 3 years frozen, then 5. Remember, this was an offshoot of, prior to COVID, I was increasing prices annually. COVID came, COVID is a COVID curveball. Now I'm just coming back to, okay, we feel we're in a good space. Let's go back to that increase, but I just tried to pick a sweet spot for it. That is the honest answer. I would love to do more, because it's easier for me to present a black program versus a red program, but if I can get back to 5% annually and trim off some of the items that I have a lower profit margin on, I think I could continue to chip away. Miller Avenue for this operating year is our greatest loss leader, because the same staff, I was generating very little sales on just the cold lunch days. I do believe strongly that if I'm able to bring a grab-and-go, same-day purchase program at Miller Avenue, I could take about a $40,000 loss all by itself and without any increase in cost for it.
Can you remind me, I know we talked about this at one point, about the inability to harness volunteer efforts at Miller Avenue. In the past, we had PTO sales. For that, parents, it seemed to create a void, not being able to offer those anymore for health and safety reasons. What was the greatest pitfall to, like, say, speaking in broad terms, creating that part-time position out of a volunteer base?
Because if they don't show up tomorrow and all the volunteers decide to call in sick, I don't have someone to drive the van. That was my first one. The second one is they have to have their food manager's certificate.
They have to,
Most
even
of
to
them-
distribute that food, okay.
Yes, because they actually have possession of food alone between middle school and Miller Avenue.
Got it.
So
Okay.
we want to have that. And the third component of it was, it's just a position where I need continuity.
Mhm.
Because they have to get to know that Glenn has an allergy. They have to get to know, and they need
Okay.
to be there.
Yeah.
When it was the PTO and PTA, I actually learned Thursday, you paid for the year. You paid for the year. You wrote a check,
Yes.
$100, you paid.
Or like half year maybe sometimes?
They,
But yeah.
I didn't know until they
Yeah.
actually told me that. They're going, Glenn, listen, could you stop this 2-week nonsense? I don't want to think 2 weeks. Could you give me 3 months? I said, Sarah will kill me. Could you give me 2 months? I said, Sarah will kill me. So I was almost ready to tell her 4 weeks, but then I decided to throw that all to the side and say, I really want to go back to the original plan.
Okay.
I want to go back to no pre-order, kids have ability to come in, because I am very confident if I have hot lunch 5 days a week, I'm gonna reduce the deficit that program runs. And when I launch that, and that is a success, and the kids are learning, remember, when they go to the Wading River School, the third graders have the hardest time navigating the lunch line.
Right.
If I bring them at Miller Avenue and they start to learn that line, once they learn that process, I'm just gonna add another cart. It's gonna be, let's just say, a hot lunch, cold lunch, beverages, fruit. The next cart, a la carte. Once they walk that line, it's gonna be the same process. It's gonna be the same index cart. I just gotta train them to that. I just can't throw it all at once. And then the flip side is, how are parents gonna handle that? They sent me in with my sandwich, they have money on the account. They left the sandwich in the lunchbox, and they went up anyway to go get the Dino Nuggets and smiley face fries.
Right, right.
So the building principal assures me, she goes, Glenn, you get it here, I will take care of it. I will train them, because we really want to make the K-2 program no cash.
Okay.
It must be on account, but just the volunteer concept just did not work. I just didn't have it. And I also did not have interest.
Right. Yeah, no one
last
signed
school
up to
year.
take that program, the
Nothing.
certification, right?
Zero. I couldn't,
Yeah.
and we were paying for it.
Right, we were willing to pay for it.
We
yeah.
were willing to pay for
Okay,
it.
thank you.
So program support from the general fund, historically, you could see, in 2015-16, it was 215,000, and it has gone now to 228,000. But it's important to remember that even though the budget has a $228,000 transfer to the school lunch fund, if our deficit is only 150,000, we only transfer 150,000. I am not allowed to transfer greater than the amount of the deficit. That's why you see some of the program actual support numbers for what they are. We still have currently ending fund balance of around $421,000 as of 22-23. That is similar to the 4% unassigned unappropriated fund balance that you know about from the general fund. So any purchases that we're going to be making to make this Miller Avenue program work would be coming from these funds here. They will not be coming from the general fund. We would see a small reduction here, and these funds were put here for the Miller Avenue build-out of a warming kitchen. That's what these funds have been saved up for. So I need double that in order to really do my full-fledged warming kitchen. But to get where I want to get to quickly, I'm going to use a little bit of the dollars here. So I'm not going to be asking for additional funding from the general fund for it. Any other questions?
In general or specific to that?
Any questions?
Oh, I just wanted to go back to the high school for a moment. So in terms of opportunities for students that do not have a lunch period, what's the recommendation for them in terms of trying to get something during the day?
One of the things that, in speaking to Mr. Pugliese about that is, the student has the ability to ask a teacher, my schedule does not allow for a lunch period. Can I have a pass to go down when the cafeteria serving lines open
Right.
in order to get something and bring back to the classroom. That is an opportunity that is embraced by all staff, the building principal told me. And if there's anyone that's not given that opportunity, he just wants to be made aware of it. But we definitely have the ability to accommodate that.
Okay, great answer, thank you.
Sure.
And they're also given the opportunity to go during home base. They can get
Yeah.
a special pass during home base.
Yeah, home base is a shorter period of time, right, so it's a little harder, but it's good that they have that opportunity as well, yeah? Thank you.
Another question? Sure.
So I know the school store was brought up a few years ago, and I was happy to hear that it was being built last year. It's great that it's a vocational extension of the classroom, but is there any further opportunity to have it open more than just an hour and 45 minutes twice a week?
That is a great question from what is the purpose of the school store? The current function of it is an extension of the instructional space when they're teaching the life skill related to operating in that store. That's how the store is currently being used. It is not being used as let's just call it the senior class club school store. That's going to operate, and they're going to put seniors in there, and there's going to be an advisor attached to it. It was not meant for that. It was always meant
Strictly vocational?
strictly vocational was the
Oh, I wasn't aware.
original
Okay.
intention for it. Could it be modified? Anything could be modified. Anything that we could determine a balance, again, last year was the first year for that. We did not build that store to sell food. We sell prepackaged goods. It doesn't have a food operator's license, so I'm only able to sell like vending machine style items. So that's what we're currently doing. But could it be modified so it could be open more? That's definitely something that we would have to work with the building leadership and say, okay, how do we modify it where, let's just hypothetically say it's going to be two functions. It's going to be a senior class club, and it's going to be part of the school store program. Maybe there's a blend between the natural helpers. There's something that we could actually look at it. But last year was the first year for
Understand.
it. And
I think it's a great asset, and I think it'd be great to look at it, to utilize it further than just twice a week in the
Even
morning.
for all the athletes that come back, after leaving school for the day, there's an opportunity there that, want a snack or something like that, pre or post practice to.
just the biggest challenge with it is which advisor do I put there? Because currently there isn't an advisor. There are two teachers that run that as part of their teaching classroom, and that's what that school store is. Looking at it as an extension of an after-school available, quote, quote, grab and go type snack station, I'd much rather say, if that's something that the district wanted, I don't know if it's going to make money for us, but I'll hire another part-time food service worker, and I did have a snack cart. I did actually try that. It was not as successful as everybody thought, because they get tired of the cookies, the muffins, granola bars. They got very tired of it. It was stale quickly.
Are we doing a good job of, is the PTA now keeping those vending machines stocked for after school?
PTA is keeping the vending machine stocked, yes.
Okay.
I actually tried to gain possession of those
Mhm.
vending machines on Thursday, and I almost did not leave the meeting alive.
Okay,
They say it's a #1 fundraiser.
great. I think it's good that they stay filled.
Great, I'm gonna jump to the last but not least piece. Thank you.
So this is just a little bit of an update. USDA is changing their guidelines for milk in 2025. Flavored milk offered to K-12 students in the school lunch and breakfast programs, sold to students in the a la carte program during the school day must comply and be implemented by July 1st, 2025. So the changes are that flavored milk must contain no more than 10 grams of added sugars per 8 fluid ounces, and that's what we serve our milk in the 8 fluid ounce containers. Our current nutritionals are 22 grams of sugar for the chocolate milk, 20 grams of sugar for the strawberry milk, and 12 grams of sugar for the 1%. This is just a little bit of what USDA had to say in response to the thousands of comments that they got. Basically, they recognize that, there's going to be a little bit of pushback on it, but their feeling is on it that the flavored milk is the leading source of added sugar in both school lunch and breakfast programs.
Ms. Plano, do you think the vendors that supply you with milk are going to adapt to this pretty quickly? So
Absolutely. So basically what USDA is saying is that 90% of milk companies are going to adapt to it.
We'll just change the type.
Well, and that's kind of,
which is
It's gonna make it,
another
it's gonna be
yeah,
worse.
it's not
Which is
really the
another
greatest
problem.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
another whole problem.
Yeah, and we do encourage students to take the milk. We know it, there's essential nutrients it provides to the students. With the new guidelines, there's a fear that students may no longer choose to take milk at all with their lunch. And all of the milk we serve to students, 98% of it is chocolate. That's our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
so
Arcuri. Thank you, Ms. Polino. Thank you, Ms. Krutchenko.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you for all the hard work you bring and obviously the program you do provide. I'm sure our students benefit from that every day. And, yeah, so very appreciative. Good luck this year.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Yep,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, I'm hungry after all that. You didn't bring any snacks either, I just want to say. I didn't see any snacks.
Just spoon for the honey.
We are really hoping to, at a future Board of Ed meeting, where the food service team is actually going to either attend a joint PTO, PTA meeting, or a Board of Education meeting.
Nice.
with,
Great.
Taste testing.
We look forward to that. I'll bring my appetite. Thank you.
I'll bring
Ms. Polino.
$5.25 for that.
I'll bring the 525.
Yeah.
I'll make it fun. We'll all be willing to pay that evening. Thank you for that time. Yeah, thank you. Next up, we have our Briarcliff property update with Mr. Poole. Look forward to that. Thank you, Brian.
Good evening. Well, we're coming back to Briarcliff. We're not opening Briarcliff for for any particular reason, but it's time to come back to the Briarcliff building. I won't read all of these, just some brief information on the Briarcliff building. It is about 10 acres, almost 30,000 square feet, 14 or 15 classrooms. There's portables over there. Portables were added over time. Just a brief bird's eye view of some of the structures on the property. Roof work that's been recently completed. That is the outline of the school property. Have had the chance to walk through the property, the building recently. It's in fair shape. It's being taken care of. Our maintenance workers, security team are up there on a regular basis. Building was acquired all the way back in 1950, closed in 2014 with the Princeton Plan reorganization, and then opened up again on July 23rd, 2020. Open to meet the 6-foot spacing mandate to make sure that all students could return to school. And then the building was shuttered again at the end of June in 2021. And there's a nice little picture of a classroom with the spaced desks. That is the property tax map. Just having some conversations with the village. It is, from their perspective, zoned just for a public school and residential use. You can see the residences around the school property. Just a few recent photos up there. Portables are up there on the left. On the upper right is the back of the school. There's a picture on the bottom left of the older portion of the building. You can see some disrepair, and the weeds are taking over the parking lot over there. And then there's a picture of a classroom on the bottom right. Just an update on the operating costs for Briarcliff. So utilities, and these are based on actuals. Utilities, $90,000. Insurance, $25,000. Maintenance and grounds, time and energy and work and materials and supplies up there are about $60,000 a year. So about $175,000 a year to take care of the building. There are other costs that are coming up. The building condition survey that we presented publicly last year. Needed repairs for building preservation. This is just for preservation. The roof system, by the fire escape, stucco cracks, lintels, 3-story fire escape and enclosures, handrails, prime and paint at one of the fire escapes. So it's about a $300,000 repair job just to preserve and maintain the building. not for instruction, just to keep it intact. So upcoming costs $300,000, but if you go deeper into the building condition survey, over the next 5 years, the cost for the building could reach $4 million. For some items related to life safety, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, windows, we saw the parking lot in the picture, and that wouldn't include any cost if you ever wanted to use the building for something. The investment in the windows and the cabinetry and all of that would greatly exceed $4 million. Some additional pending costs, and really something we should think about. We did have some children, young adults, teenagers up there last year several times, got into the building. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. There was some damage, so it's honestly, it's maybe less about damage to the building, but about somebody getting into that building and breaking an arm, breaking a leg, and really hurting themselves unsupervised in there. So it's really a safety issue. It does increase our liability. So we do have some quotes for fencing. We could fence very closely to the building for almost $100,000, and if we wanted to add additional security up there, $50,000. If we wanted to add cameras, the cost would keep on rising for that. So it is an attractive nuisance. I think those signs that are up there now are all over the place now. We've had a little more security up there, and the police department has been up there with more frequency as well as a result of the students on campus at the Briarcliff building last year. I say not all our students. So just going back in time, in 2018, spent a lot of time, public forums, round tables, fact gathering, had a lot of good, rich conversations around it. And we reviewed quite a few ideas came out of the community, from the village, moving central office up there, selling, leasing it. Would BOCES want it? Could it be a full pre-kindergarten center? Could it be a historical landmark? All of those things were fully vetted, and none of them really became an option for the school district, and that really remains the case. I just spoke with BOCES last week. BOCES does not want to use the building, and really the overarching sort of issue beyond replacing the cabinetry and the windows and bringing that building to what Miller Avenue, Wading River, or even the high school look like, that's standard. That's an astronomical amount of money. In order to open that building, there would be new costs for custodial, clerical, administration, part-time monitors, nurse, security. So the recurring staffing, before you put a program in there and board equipment teachers in there, is $1 million a year to cover all of that in the building. So as a result of the 2018 review, we did award a realtor, and that was for the sale or lease of the building. That was not successful. Halfway through that process, COVID hit, so it kind of sunk it even further, but it just didn't move. There was not a lot of interest, so here we are today, coming back to Briarcliff, and on the agenda tonight, really due to the costs, due to the ongoing disrepair, the safety concerns, the really no future use for the building that's foreseeable, achievable, practical, and most importantly, affordable. There's a resolution on the agenda tonight to issue a request for proposals for a real estate broker service. So we go out for proposals, they'll come back, review the proposals, select the appropriate realtor firm to represent the district, and to move forward with the sale of Briarcliff. And just finally, briefly, what can the district do with the proceeds of a sale? A school district can use the money to fund a capital reserve, or put it into a tax reduction reserve, which a tax reduction reserve, a little bit of a misnomer. It's really a place to hold the money for a Board of Education and community to appropriate towards a budget, not necessarily a reduction. So, and just a little bit of background and review of Briarcliff, and that it is on the agenda later on this evening. Happy to answer any questions, myself, Mr. Arcuri, about the property. No.
No, we appreciate the update. I think we were fortunate enough to have the building when we did. It allowed us to do something that many districts could never do. I think we all gotten to the same conclusion, Jerry, with the points you've made up here tonight. Any other thoughts as a board, right?
I mean, it's become very cost prohibitive to retain the property. We're lucky enough to have the continuity of your leadership, the entire same cabinet, the majority of our board who was here in 2018. So this might seem slightly brief, but all the same
Years.
discussion applies, you know, so.
Mhm.
Mr. Poole, remind us of the length of the RFP process. Or will we see this again?
We will go out to RFP tomorrow. It'll be out for maybe a month, so within a month or so, we'll have responses back, and we'll have a chance to review those and make a selection.
Okay.
So I would imagine that this would be awarded at some point in the fall, before mid-year, and hopefully get it ready and prepped and marketed for the start of the mid-year, and hopefully hopefully it moves along fairly quickly.
Very good.
All
Thank you,
right,
Mr.
great.
Poole.
All right, thank you. I'm going to stay here, because I know.
Oh, right, you're up next
I
too,
am
so
up next.
you get to give us the
Yes.
smartphone protocols update for the 2024-25 school year.
All right, personal device protocols. So I probably have this a little later on in the presentation. We've had in place for a couple of years cell phone protocols, and they really were, you could bring your device to school, you know, a K-8, but don't bring it out, leave it in your locker along the way. And at the high school, it was, you can have your device with you, but don't have it out during instructional periods, and looked good on paper, but in practice, it didn't work out that well. We gave our teaching staff a survey this year, and that really drove administration, myself, to say we need to have a deeper conversation about this for next year. The responses in the survey weren't something that I could comfortably sit on. I think our teachers were asking for help, and we need to find some way to strengthen it so that this wasn't the issue that they've been experiencing for that. So we had a meeting on July 12th, open call for anybody, coffee, donuts, and cell phones. We had coffee, we had donuts, and we talked about cell phones. And then we followed up with a second meeting to really go a little bit deeper into some of the thoughts we had in the first meeting and come up with something that parents, administrators, students, teachers, myself, cabinet, thought was a step in the right direction for the upcoming school year. So just some personal devices. That's kind of what I'm aware of right now. I do know somebody in district who has those glasses and uses those, administrator in a school district, in a fun way. AirPods, phones, rings, and watches. Those are things that, who knows what's next.
True.
I did just go over our current student protocols for our cell phones, and then the committee had a good discussion about those along the way, and it kind of mirrored what our teachers were saying.
Mr. Poole, just one quick question, just on that last slide.
Yeah.
So when it talks about, and I know we've addressed this, and I wholeheartedly support this initiative, but sound alerts and notifications must be turned off while in class. So as a parent of 3 diabetics, they have no sound notification to tell them when they're highs and lows, which are critical to their health. How would you suggest, I mean, obviously we understand that through a nurse's, letter request that there can be accommodations, but I definitely want them to have their cell phone in the designated position. But is that an exception you would consider,
Absolutely,
having the
there
sound
is.
on if there was, okay.
There is absolutely medical exceptions and medical exemptions. So a student that has a proven diagnosed medical condition, they're probably going to have an emergency care plan, or to manage that. There will definitely be exceptions. The staff will be aware of it. The student will be aware. There'll be no penalty. And if the students need to have an alert on for a medical condition, that alert will stay on. So we've definitely had that conversation about that, and that'll be allowed for the students' health and well-being.
Okay.
Of course, yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Just a few takeaways from the teacher survey findings. I'm going to post this on the webpage, and then all families can have a chance to see the link. Smartphones are a constant distraction, has negative effects on academic performance and social skills, challenging and time-consuming to constantly monitor and enforce. And teachers called for clearer, more consistent protocols and enforcement of the personal device rules. And it's a K through 12 concern. It's very hard to read the survey and hear about smartwatches, text messages from the home to the student in first grade, and the student gets up, gets their coat, and says, "Oh, I'm going home." Or phones ringing in a 5th grade backpack during the math lesson. So a lot of K through 12 concern about this. Those are some quotes from teachers. Cell phones are a major distraction. Smartwatches are cell phones, and finally, high school students are absolutely addicted to their phones and cannot go more than a few minutes without checking them. So there may be some more work to do on that end of education with students, but these were really the driver to bring the stakeholder group together and strengthen, hopefully strengthen, and make it better for our teaching staff, and actually make the school experience better for students. They may not think that initially, but maybe make the learning experience more engaging and enjoyable for them. We reviewed a lot of research and data, so not just the teacher survey, but I only put a few slides in here for tonight, but we reviewed a lot of data, and all of it, all of us can logically say, sure, yeah, getting text messages, that's not great if you're reading them during a teacher teaching the quadratic equation. If you stop to read a text message or check for a like or check Instagram, you're gonna miss something important. So that was pretty clear. It's been gaining momentum across the world, in the nation, about the impact, not just of social media, but just having the device itself. One of the studies that was pretty compelling for all of us was this idea that let's say you don't even have your phone out. Your phone's not out, but your phone is just in your pocket. It's a brain drain. So, if you think about a student with their phone in their pocket, they're wondering who might have messaged me. What was that bing? What was that buzz in my pocket? So just that, the attention and the energy it takes to just not check your phone was draining student engagement and student attention in the classroom along the way. And it was a big topic of conversation. So the student even have it on their person. Can we just say no phones for anybody at all, at any age? It was a serious conversation for the group. I think the group recognized that wasn't possible 3 weeks before the start of the school year. Say, oh, hey, nobody's bringing any personal devices to school at all. And there was a recognition that, students in athletics, extracurriculars, that communication where there's not a main office, that for them to get information through, that communication was important. So we took a look at a few other options that would make a difference. So after those 2 meetings, these personal device protocols for 2024-25 came out. I did send these sort of as a awareness to families that knew we were holding those meetings, to tell them what had emerged, and just maybe a couple of weeks ago, and just say that, hey, look, this isn't finalized yet, but we're going to finalize it over the summer, moving forward. So that went out about a couple of weeks ago. I did not get a phone call or email from somebody who said, hey, don't do it, we can't do this, don't do it. And no response at all, negative to these. So K through 5, just don't bring it to school. Don't bring the watch to school, don't bring the ring to school, don't bring the phone to school. So all devices are prohibited, recommendation from being brought to school. Grades 6 through 8, and this is similar to years past. You can bring it, but keep it locked in the locker during school hours. Again, that was great on paper, but what the middle school is asking for more teeth, more ability to do a little bit more when somebody was breaking those rules. And then grades 9 through 12, students can bring their personal devices to school. They're going to have a choice. They can either put it in their locker and lock it in their locker, but if they have it on their persons when they walk into the classroom, we'll have a strategically placed sort of a calculator holder, remember classroom calculators, where they'll be able to drop the phone or the AirPods in that for the duration of the period and then get it at the end of the day. So students will self-store it and then get it out on their way out. Now, they may take a little bit of time at the start, at the end, but it's going to pale in comparison to the time that teachers are taking to address the phone out during the lesson. So a little bit of time on that. So we have a couple of sort of different models. We're gonna get those mounted for the start of the school year and hopefully find one that works best, for the school district moving forward.
Just a quick question. Just how do you deviate, or how do you do, what's the definition for on persons? Someone has it in their backpack. Is that something that they're still required to then place in the sleeve?
So teachers aren't going to be checking backpacks or pockets or purses or things like that. I think the point is that it's not out and not physically on them. So if a teacher's not going to know if it's in the backpack next to them. The teacher will know if it's out in their hands or buzzing or beeping or something like that. And then they may say, hey, look, you come in tomorrow, that's got to go into please put it in your locker or put it in your, or drop it in there. If I was a student, knowing the teacher's not searching my backpack, I make sure my phone's on silent if I was going to leave it in the backpack. But the goal is to take the distraction away from the classroom setting in the easiest way possible. So as long as it's a way out, you know, we prefer that it was in your locker and in that, but we're not going to be digging around in bags. Only if it's out and becomes an issue would that then be addressed.
What is the, what are we doing if students have purposely set their phones on ring or something, and it's a constant distraction now in the sleeve?
That's going to be, that'll be in a code of conduct, so they'll probably get a warning. Insubordination would kick in for that, and I'll get to the, if you look at the bottom of medical, Mr. Smith, the medical conditions, so students can and may request an accommodation, and it definitely will be granted.
Can I just ask a question off of Mike's question? So, will the administration support teachers who require students, like, say, to take attendance by putting their phones in the sleeve? So even though they're not checking backpacks, the most efficient way, every student has a phone, the most efficient way to determine whether or not they're complying with the spirit of this rule is to take attendance by assigning a number and then having a student put it in the sleeve, and if it's missing from the sleeve, it's in the backpack, which they can discreetly check. So if a teacher, according to their own personal policy, says, if it's not in the sleeve, I'm going to assume that you're not
It's in your
complying.
locker.
Then it could be in
could-
the
they
locker.
I don't want
Lock
any
it in
teachers,
there.
like, searching my students, my son's or daughter's backpack. I think that's going beyond the
Okay.
policy.
Okay, so
Probably is
that might be
not-
like a
Yeah.
problem point at which students are just checking their backpack, because it doesn't
There's-
work with that brain drain data.
Yes, if it's sitting in your backpack, the
Right.
proximity. So if you look at the data, the further the phone is away from you, there's a study we saw with bar graphs, the further away, the greater the positive impact. So the
Right.
best impact was that it was just locked in your locker. The next was that it wasn't on your body along the way. So I think we're going to resurvey staff in a few months after the school year. So this is
how it
our
works.
next best effort to get a handle on this, and see what the staff say about it. They may say, you know what, you need to get a little tougher and make it very clear that it can't even be in the backpack. So if that does become a concern with the ringing and the beeping, for that, then we'll have to take that next step. But for right now, don't have it out, lock it in your locker, drop it in the shoe thing, grab it on your way out. You know, we have great kids. I'm gonna hope that most of them, we have to couple it with education too. Students need to understand the negative impact of it. I don't know if all students know about just that, the brain drain, on that. It's very hard to be sitting in physics or 10th grade English trying to write an essay and be thinking about your phone at the same time, for them. So I'm gonna move on to the code of conduct. So this was a big part of it. This was important, that the code of conduct reflected something that was progressive for students, but took the matter of enforcing it and dealing with the discipline and the constant reminders and dealing with the phones out of the hands of the teachers, so that instruction was not going to be interrupted by sending it right to an administrator's office. So first offense, student will be sent to the administration by the classroom teacher, device confiscated, held in the principal or administrator, assistant principal's office. Parent guardians would be notified. Student could collect their device at the end of the school day. Second offense, same process. Now the parent is required to retrieve the device, so the device would not be handed back to the student if it's strike two. Third offense and beyond, again, right to administration. The student would be considered insubordinate, so now we're getting into another part of the code of conduct, and now you're just not following rules as opposed to maybe making a mistake and not being aware. Device confiscated, and the phone will be gone for a week or longer depending on the circumstances. So, student gets to number 4 or 5, the phone could be disallowed for up to a month or longer. So we'll have to see. I'm hoping nobody gets there, but that is possible. We'll implement those at the start of the school year, district-wide. There will be, we've had a good conversation about giving high school students and families a little bit of a grace period for September, so some reminders, put it inside of the calculator, pocket holder, cell phone holder, leave it in your locker. If it comes out, it may not be an immediate to the principal's office, but on October 1st, all of that would kick in full force. So it gives kids, high school students, 2 to 3 weeks to get used to the new rules and go from there. And as I said, we will resurvey our staff, keep the dialogue open, and see to what extent has this made a difference in student engagement, teacher attention. It's very hard to be in the middle of teaching something, to be distracted, to address a behavior related to a phone, and hopefully make an improvement in the teaching and learning environment, and help students and help teachers with teaching and learning.
Just a quick question on the retrieval portion from the parents. What is, like, what time frame does a parent have to come up to the school to retrieve the device?
We'll have to set the timeframes,
Okay.
but I think generally, if somebody's in a high school, immediately found on the school day, so I think they would have access to be able to come back up to get the device, but we'll have to work out the details of that a little bit. Great, so tonight on the agenda is the adoption of the revised code of conduct. The only revision from what we adopted early in July at the reorg meeting is the language around what are the protocols for personal device use, and then what are the consequences. So those are in the code of conduct. Those will be adopted. That does give them great teeth and strength for teachers and administrators to use.
Mhm.
And I'll come back after we give the survey and update the board on what our teachers saying after 3 months or so of
That's
the new
great.
protocols and the changes to the code of conduct. And as I mentioned before, we also talked about additional education for students about productive personal device management in their lives. And we talked a little bit about, it's been in the news a little bit, about the Yonder bags as a future consideration, or something similar to that, where students are issued a pocket. They put their devices in it, it locks for the day, and then on their way out, they tap it onto a button, or somebody's holding a handheld device and it unlocks it, and they have their device. You know, I did speak to a few superintendents in New York State about that, with positive feedback on it. Is an expense. Students do have end arounds, so we'll kind of see how that goes. And then we know that over the summer, Governor Hochul began a listening tour and is involved now in determining, you know, what should the state do about personal devices in the classroom. So to be continued, what comes down from Albany, if anything, for that. But thank you very much. I want to thank the parents, administrators, teachers that came out over the summer on 2 days, and we had a good turnout to have this conversation. And they came because they said it was important to them, and they knew it was an issue, and they wanted to help find an answer. So thank you to that whole group, and to the students that came. They added a lot of value as well. So I'm looking forward to this making a difference as we move forward next year.
Fully agree. Thank you, Mr. Poole. I think just having that committee get together, I echo your sentiments. Really appreciative of their time. And it seems like it was a unanimous, really output of the
Unanimous.
conversation. And I think we all know, right? All of us at this point, the learnings of seeing kids on devices and what goes on, whether it's their social, emotional, just the way they interact with each other. I think this has so many positive outcomes. So I'm appreciative that you're doing it. Glad we have the code of conduct changes. And I'm glad you're going to support the staff in this change as well. And I'd encourage parents out there to remind their kids of what the expectations are and how we're really looking for a positive outcome for them. That's the whole reason they're here. So,
This is manageable for high school students. They can have their device out when they have between classes, check a text message. They can, as much as I'd rather they didn't have it during the lunch period, I will say that the schools with the Yonder bags, both superintendents were like, wow, the cafeteria is full of good noise.
that's nice.
And that would be a good place to get to, but I think this is a point between that and there that's achievable, and I think students can manage it and follow those rules.
So
That's terrific.
Thank you.
we'll see an
Thank you.
increase in tardiness in between periods now.
What'd you say?
Well, I
So
got
we'll
on
see an
the
increase
phone.
in tardiness in between periods.
We'll address that next. Just kidding.
Kids checking their phone.
Thank
getting-
you.
Thank you,
Excited
Mr. Paul,
about
for
it.
the two updates. Appreciate it. Next up, Mr. Meinster, we've got our secondary grading protocols and updates. Thank you so much.
Ooh, it's too much.
I will be very, very brief.
Great, everybody's getting an A. Just kidding. I'm just teasing. That's the
So-
quickest way to do the update.
As you are all aware, we had a extensive discussion of the proposed secondary grading practices protocol at the last meeting in July, at which time there was some feedback that was received, and we had the opportunity as an administrative team since that meeting to take a thorough look at the items that are associated with reassessment that were at the center of those questions.
Yes.
And through those conversations, we have put together a plan. That's what I just wanted to share with you this evening for revisiting those items. To start, again, we had those discussions that even included our administrative council meeting this morning, which is now going to lead to the opportunity for us to take a look at the ways in which we can expand how students are able to demonstrate learning of content that they initially struggled with, and then to have that demonstrated understanding reflected in some manner in their marking period grade. These are going to be helpful, these conversations, in taking the next step, which will be a discussion of this topic with each of the secondary building faculty upon their return to the start of the school year next week. Teachers will be able to share their ideas, structures, and strategies for incorporating reassessment opportunities into each of the courses with the members of the district's CDC subcommittee on secondary grading practices that has been taking up this topic. And then that committee is going to meet in the following week in September early to have the opportunity to take that feedback, have dialogue, reach consensus on how to embed those updated revisions into the draft protocol. And from that, it is the intent for me to return here to the board on the next meeting on September 10th, where I will have the opportunity to share with you the updated protocol, provide the opportunity for us to review and discuss the changes. Should everyone support the updated draft at that time, it will then be shared with teachers, used to update each course's syllabi so that they will reflect the items that are in the protocol, with the hope and the goal being that these updated syllabi would then be shared with students and families by no later than the open houses of each of the secondary buildings, so that they can be implemented for the determination of grades in each course for the 24-25 school year.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, Mr. Meister, thanks again for spearheading some of the questions from our previous meeting, and the committee again revisiting some of the items that we gave you from the last, because it was a very thorough, looked like very thorough outcome, so.
It
looking
was a
forward to
great
seeing-
dialogue, and it will
Yeah.
help inform our next steps, and I look forward to
Yep.
coming back on the 10th and being able to share where we're at.
I think it's all
Thank you
positive.
very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you so
Meister,
much.
for the update. Okay.
All right, let's work on them.
Next up will be our votes and resolutions. First will be our approval of our July 11th reorganization meeting minutes. May I get a motion? Katie, second Megan. Any discussion or questions? Okay to vote, all in favor? 7-0. Approval of our July 11th regular public meeting minutes. May I get a motion? Henry, Jim, S. Think about that now. May I get any discussion or questions? Okay to vote? 7-0. Approval of the August 6th special public meeting minutes. For this one, I think I need to have,
I'm sorry, Ms.
Policy?
Tempenhart and Mr. Lockhart would abstain.
okay, great, thank you.
Why do we not have that?
May I get a motion, please? Mike, second Jim S. Any discussion or questions?
Oh, yes.
Okay to vote? It'll be 5-0. With,
Two.
Megan.
502.
I'm abstaining.
502.
She's
Right.
abstaining.
Yeah.
Oh, you're abstaining?
Yeah, that was the,
have to-
the
502.
Okay, so it's
daytime.
502, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
I was getting there. I was working on it. It's a little slow.
Why do I not have
Approval of our June 2024 Treasurers Report. May I get a motion?
Oh, they updated.
Jim L, Mike, Mike. Mike L now. I got Jim L and Mike L.
Oh, there we
Any
go.
discussion or questions?
The gyms.
Jims. May I get a vote, please? All in favor? That'll be 7-0. Approval of our July 2024 Treasurers Report. May I get a motion? Katie, second Jim S. Any discussion or questions? Okay to vote? All in favor? 7-0. Approval of our CPSE and CSE and 504 meeting summary memo dated August 15, 2024. May I get a motion? Henry, second. Mike. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 7-0. I'm going to turn it to Ms. Mahoney to read a memo regarding our approval of policies for second reading.
Thank you. Traditionally, this would have been read at the last meeting for a first reading. This is the last group of policies that are being completed with our manual that have been reviewed by the policy committee.
Yeah.
Newer revised policies, number 1405, complaints about certain federally funded programs, is a new policy recommended for adoption as a precautionary measure for auditors. 4315, prevention instruction. This would combine and renumber District Policy 8211 and 7540. This policy was constructed to list all instruction pertaining to prevention. An introductory paragraph was added to the beginning, which explains the prevention topics that are included in instruction, and language from Policy 7540 was added to this policy as an instruction topic. 4321, programs for students with disability. This is being revised, and it will be replacing District Policies 7610, 7613, 7641, 7643, 7650, and 7660. This policy was revised to reflect updated language since its adoption in 2022. It will also be replacing a number of district policies which are embedded already and up to date in the NISBA policy. Policy number 6600, fiscal accounting and reporting, is being revised and will replace District Policy 5510. The NISBA policy has been recommended for adoption with revisions including specifications of responsibilities for the business manager and assistant superintendent for finance and operations. Language was input from District Policy 5510 regarding online banking and electronic transactions. 8140, unsafe school transfer choice, will replace District Policy 7580. The NISBA policy was recommended to replace our district policy as it is up to date and aligns with current practices. 8630 and the regulation, computer resources and data management. This is a new NISBA policy recommended as it aligns with current practices. Language was revised to reflect professional development practices provided by the Information Technology Administrator. 8700, insurance, is being revised and will replace District Policy 5610. The district policy is recommended to be kept in the manual and renumbered to align with NISBA's numbering system. However, a revision has been made to reflect current practices for safekeeping of insurance policies. The following list of policies are being renumbered to align with NISBA's policy numbering system. 1140 will be renumbered from 8410. 4325.1 will be renumbered from 7618. 5100 will be renumbered from 7110. 5151.1 will be renumbered from 7134. 6231 will be renumbered from 5550. 6232 will be renumbered from 5551. 6720 will be renumbered from 5413. 8125 is being renumbered from 5682. 8135 will be renumbered from 3520. 8632 is renumbered from 5674. 8650 is being renumbered from 8350. And the following district policies are recommended for abolishment or have been replaced by other district policies. 7140, 3320, 7131, 7632, 7690, 7621, 7111, 7130, and 7612. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. May I get a motion, please? Megan, second. Janelle. Any discussion or question on these policies? Okay to vote? All in favor? 7-0. Next up will be approval of our policy reading, first reading, waive second reading for our code of conduct, 5300. May I get a motion, please? Henry, second. Katie, any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Do students have to sign the code of conduct?
I don't believe they do. Mr. Poole, on the code of conduct, do they sign it? That's a
I
question.
don't believe so. I
think
believe,
they
I
do
believe
that.
there's an acknowledgement in online registration that parents have read it, but I will provide that
It was just a-
snippet along with the protocols in a communication to parents with a link to the code of conduct
Okay,
as
good.
well.
So do students typically review the code of conduct and say that they reviewed it and will acknowledge that they will follow the code of conduct?
You know, they go about what the code of conduct, the rules are at age-appropriate levels. I know at the high school and the middle school, they do have student assemblies early in the school year about acceptable behavior and consequences.
Thank you.
I think there's wording in that online form that says,
The students.
I
the
have read
students.
this with my student, the parent signs
The
it,
parents side is,
but it's something about like, that you've read it with your student.
I think that the child actually indicates that they read it under your account.
Oh, okay.
Child, on my account, they,
It's part of because the adult reads it and the child reads it.
yeah. I don't do that.
I hear you, but
it's lengthy and covers a lot of topics. It's probably, but having something, it's a good thought, having a one-pager or a two-pager that makes better sense to students, really is something we could think about.
At least just on this seems like a major overhaul to,
Just,
it's gonna impact them. Something that they could read and acknowledge that they understand
Yeah,
the ramifications.
in regard to the phone?
Yes.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, very good. So I taken a first and second motion. Thank you, Mike. Any other discussion or questions on this?
No, but I think Mr. Lewis brings up a good point. Maybe that could be done in home base or an assembly where they explicitly go through what the new policy is and what the
Yeah, so
consequences
the
are.
personal device policy.
Because it is
Yeah,
a big shift that impacts
It's not that
that.
big,
I would
it's
agree.
true.
I think that the grace period of September, I think, once faculty and staff, we have a meeting to start the school year, they can ask questions as well, that they'll play a big role in, at the start of the school year, reminding students about what that is for them.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay to vote?
Mhm.
All in favor? 7-0. Board of Education resolutions. There are 5 of them. Okay to take as a block?
Please.
They go from 2425016 through 2425020. Okay. May I get a motion, please? Megan, Katie? Any discussion or questions on these? All in favor? 7-0. Next up are curriculum and instruction resolutions. There are 6 of these, and they begin with numbering 2425021 and continue from 025 to 26, yeah, 026. Do I have any, excuse me, let me get a motion, please. Mike, second Katie. Any discussion or questions on these? All I'll say is I do know that we have the AI agreement that I know we've spoken about, right? The teaching AI. So this will be a new platform, correct, for our
Correct.
teachers?
The ones that are on here are actually the ones that students will be able to use.
Ah, okay, thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Mr. Meinster, are they going to be targeted toward certain classes, or are there going to be teachers that are using it as part of the curriculum specifically, or just teachers have?
So the BRISC is a AI that will be available for teachers to use with students in grades 6 through 12. We also have School AI, which does not require a resolution, and that is available as well for students because it does not collect any PII.
Okay.
Both of those will be available. It is the School AI that is going to be used as the central component within the digital literacy course that is rolling out this year. Teachers are and have received training on these and are able to use those 2 platforms with students starting in September.
So in that particular course, you'll see a curriculum built out with AI?
There is a portion of the digital literacy course that is specifically targeted on how to utilize AI
Okay.
to accomplish academic tasks, and that is the platform that will be used for that. Teachers are going to also be receiving professional development this year on how that is being delivered to students so that they can also use that platform for their own instruction, knowing how students have learned how to use it for their
own purposes.
And then if their children are exposed to it before that curriculum opportunity, teachers will have some understanding of what they're going to be learning and then guide them.
Yeah, we're going to be providing that professional development to the teachers fairly early in the school year, so there won't be really a large gap there between when they're getting taught this and when teachers will be able to understand what they've been taught and how they're using it.
Thank you for all your work on that.
I'm going to pause for a second. I want to go back on Resolution 2425017. I just wanted to put a shout out, thank you to some community members. I meant to mention this. I skipped it. I want to thank the residents who are signing up for Ms. Marisali for the audit space and facilities and legislative, Ms. Benthauser for space and facilities, Mr. Zahn for space and facilities, Ms. Saunders Morano for space and facilities, and Mr. Koshis for the audit committee. So I just wanted to make mention of that under the Board of Education resolutions.
Thank you.
Held to do that. So going back to 2425021 through 2425026. May I get a motion, please?
Oh, you took a motion.
I did that? Okay, I forgot to write it down. Thank you. All right. Good. Thank you. You're all over it.
Just need a vote.
Okay. Thank you. Okay to vote? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Thanks for having my back, Jim. It's all good. Human Resources resolutions are up next. We have one of these, 2425027. May I get a motion, please? Henry, second Katie. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 7-0. Business and operations resolutions. There are four of these, 2425028 through 2425031. Okay to take as a block?
Yes.
Okay. May I get a motion, please? Katie, second. Jamel. Okay to vote? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, let's get that in this document. Nope, okay. Next up will be our personnel agenda. May I get a motion? Katie, second Jamel. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 7-0. Ms. Mahoney, any communications?
Nope.
Okay. Any opportunity for board members, any other discussion for tonight? I did want to say, I do see in our audience, there's a Boy Scout that has sat through this entire meeting. So I wanted to give him a little round of applause.
You earned that badge.
You definitely earned your badge tonight. Hope this was something that you took away from. Do you attend school here, could I ask?
I attend at the middle school, going into it.
Very good. So you're rising sixth grader. Good luck this year in school. Thanks for being here to see how things really work behind the scenes, if you will.
Yeah.
So look forward to a good year ahead, and congratulations on earning that badge tonight. I did want to just throw out a shout out to all of our administrators, teachers, our staff again, and everyone who makes the school district possible. Wishing you all a great year ahead. I think we all would echo those sentiments. And to the parents and students, same here. Good luck this year on another great year. I didn't know if anyone else has anything else they want to part with. Any other comments? Okay, very good. May I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Jim, S, and Katie. Okay to vote? 7-0. Thank you all. Have a great night.